And it was back up again. Why? I keep getting disconnected.
Yeah,
no, I'm back. I should be back live again now. And I'm here.
The previous video is.
No, everything is like on and off, on and off. Facing some technical issues. My OBS is disconnecting me randomly for no reason. Let's see. Give me a moment. Hey Augusto, how are you doing? Connection is fine. Okay, thanks for that, Augusto, but we did drop quite a number of people on the stream. Doesn't seem like I have, connection is not an issue, it's just OBS that's acting up. Alrighty. Okay, now let's see. It's one of those days again. It's one of those days again. Hey, Haida. Seems to be okay now. All right. It feels like it's one of those days where I'm going to disconnect and connect back again, so just bear with me. I hope that's the end of that. And with that, let's get to it before craziness happens again. Yesterday was Canada Day, so we had Canadians on a bank holiday. At 10 p.m. we did see the US ISM manufacturing PMI go from a 48.7 down slightly to a 48.5. That's at 10 p.m. and that's why we saw at 10 p.m. right there, all right, a small push to the downside on the dollar index before it continued bouncing off that support back up. Right, so the dollar index did come up, retraced up. I thought it was going to push back down. It didn't push back down. In fact, it pushed all the way up to that 105.90 level, which we kept talking about. Right, it needs to stay below 105.70 to remain bearish. It broke above that. It broke up that resistance level, and it looks like it's going to continue to the upside. And this again highlights the reason why I really don't like trying to guess where retracement is going to get up to, because there was no major news. There was no major news that could have led to that big push up on the dollar index. It was a bit of, again, reaction from the euro, retracing back down. That's pushing, I felt that was pushing the dollar index back up. That big push, you can see that big push down on the euro, right? As it failed to break higher, it pushed down. That's why I caught that move down. Now sitting along that support level. So that was a little bit of volatility, a little bit of liquidity from last night, with the dollar index regaining a bit of strength. But looking at today, at 5 p.m. GMT plus 8, so in just under 2 hours time, we have the euro with their CPI flash estimate to be released, and it is currently at a 2.6%. It's expected to go down slightly to a 2.5%, right? Slightly to a 2.5%. Again, if they do release at 2.5, CPI being inflation growth, if inflation growth does slow down to 2.5, That's going to again give the ECB a little bit more of a kick up the back to cut rates or to come to a rate cut decision, and that's also why I think that if the euro sits along this support and CPI does come out at a 2.5 or maybe even 2.4 number, we could see it push to the downside if the dollar index does continue pushing higher. So that's what we want to look out for in terms of the CPI for the euro. Then later on tonight at 9:30 p.m. we do have the Fed Chair Powell speaking at the policy panel at the ECB forum on central banking in Sintra. No idea where Sintra is, but I don't think this will be a big price mover. President Lagarde from the ECB is also speaking at the same time together in the panel. I was going to say I don't think this will be a big price mover, but there is a chance for increased liquidity at that time. So watch out for the euro especially, which will lead to more fluctuations on the dollar index. And then at 10 p.m. we have the JOLTS jobs openings for the US. This time looking at a little bit of a slowdown, not really a slowdown, but more modest growth, where it's going from 8.06 mil to 7.96 mil, right? Not expecting a big change. I think it might come out at about 8 million flat, which is going to give a little bit of stability to the US economy, or to indicate some stability to the US economy, which might again brings about some strength to the dollar, right? And then with that through to tomorrow, a whole bunch of PMI numbers to be released. Again, remember, this is the first week of the month, so we do have the JOLTS openings tonight. We have the ADP non-farm employment change tomorrow, and then after that on Friday we have the non-farm employment change to be released as well. And the UK parliamentary elections on the 4th of July. On Independence Day in the US, the UK having the parliamentary election. So with all that said, what do we have to look out for today? Really a bit more volatility on the euro because of the CPI, and then the panel speaking between President Lagarde from the ECB and Chair Powell from the Fed Reserve, and then the JOLTS jobs openings, maybe a little bit overshadowed by the panel discussion that's coming up. Now, with that said, I'm actually casting an eye on the euro because that's going to be quite interesting. I hope it sits there or it comes a little bit lower, just so that I can get into this move at the end of the stream. First off, let's look at the dollar index. Okay. Hey, Lucy, how are you doing? Hope you're well. Snowflakes from the UK, hope you're well. Can you give us a little bit of insight into what do you think is going to happen with the UK parliamentary elections? Looking forward to your view, because you're on the ground. You have maybe some secret information or on the ground information they can share with us. Hey Diana, how are you doing? Okay, so now that's done. We can take that one away. Hey Jimmy, how are you doing? Take those away because it did not go down to break. That's still holding. I'll keep that. We can see that the dollar index breaking past that resistance level of 105.90. Hey Jumarinas, thanks for jumping onto this stream. The last one just conked off. Now we're at this point here. I don't need this anymore. Take that away. Okay. I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing fantastic. Now looking at this, it came down yesterday, bounced off that 38.2 level to push back up Now 2nd of July, we're looking at the dollar index pushing higher. It's just below that 106 level. It's 105.995. So it's just below 106, looking for it to push a little bit higher, continuing with the upward move. Main thing is that it needs to break above 106.15. That could lead to a push up towards the resistance of 106.40. That high which we saw tested in May and in mid of April and early of May. Right, I'm looking at this again. I would actually be quite happy to look at 106.50. No, 106.40, just 106.50 rounded up. Let's catch that point. 106.45 would be reasonable. So now again back to the dollar index, 2nd of July, we're looking for this dollar index to continue trading higher. Needs to break 106.15, which is the previous swing high, to retest resistance of 106.45. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. To continue, dollar index to continue trading higher, needs to break 106.15, which was the previous swing high that we saw through June. If it breaks past that, we can see it trade up to retest the resistance of 106.45. Can we look at the Aussie yen and the pound Swiss franc? Pound Swiss franc, or yeah, okay, we can. I haven't looked at pound Swiss, but yeah, we can look at that, or US Swiss franc. Was it pound Swiss franc that you wanted? We can do that. Okay, that's my view for the dollar index, to find a bit of a double bottom to push up, continue up towards 106.45. That makes sense. I'm happy with that. Then, I'm super keen on that now. Okay, Euro, hold there, don't move yet. I want to get into this trade. Kiwi dollar, we spoke about this yesterday. It didn't push to the upside. We did not see that dollar weakness, so it pushed down with the dollar strength. Now that it's broken that previous swing low and that support level, we're looking for it to trade to the downside, also breaking that 50% or coming close to breaking that 50% retracement level from that overall upward move. What I'm looking for here would be that I'm not so keen on 61.8 because that's a bit of a weak, it's there, but it's a bit of a weak level. I feel that just this point would be more reasonable. Okay, so what I'm looking at here on the Kiwi would be, if it does break below this 6050 level, we're looking at 6040, no, a little bit lower, 6035. Stop loss, you can do 30 pips. Take profit, you can go down to this point at 50, which is that previous swing low, or you can go all the way down 100. I don't see 100 at this point, but I will be looking at it as a possible move to the downside with a hesitation at 5980. Right, so you're looking at a 30 pip to a 50 pip at the start, but it could go all the way down if it has big downside potential on the Kiwi dollar. All right, so Kiwi dollar index to push up, we're looking to sell down at 6035, 30. Can we do 25? You can do at the least 25. 30 would be the best. Right, 6035, stop loss 30, take profit 100 with a hesitation at 5980, which is about 50 pips. 0.5980. There we go. I'm super keen on that. That's pushing along. That's getting to my level I want to get in. Then on to the Aussie dollar bullish flag did not play out. We did not see that test and reject, so take that away. But it did come up to test that previous swing high and push back down. It is right in the middle, right? It's right in the middle. Take that away. And because it is right in the middle here, it's very choppy at this point. I think what you need to wait for is if it breaks that previous swing low to sell it down. 6015, I think it's a small move. You get a 30, you get at best 40 pip move to the downside. Stop loss will be very tight, no more than 15 pips. Right, and that's if it breaks below that previous swing low to trade down. 6615, 15 to 40 to the downside. Dollar index gaining big strength. What's happening? The US data could weaken the dollar. That's 20 minutes ago, but yet we're seeing a dollar push up. We're looking at this to sell down at 0.6615, stop loss 15, take profit 40 to the downside. 6015, 15 to 40 to the downside. Yes. Okay. Check the Bollinger. That's slightly outside. We do have half an hour more to go, so it's probably going to sit there or push up a little bit and retrace back down. So I'm not too worried at this point. That could be a good short-term trade to take because it's going to be a bit of space to push down before you look to sell it. Kiwi dollar is pushing lower, so we look for that. Hey Pips Apprentice, hey Nwachuku, how you doing? Now on to the US yen. I haven't moved my sell order. I'll keep it there, but I'm very tempted to move it up to just below that 160.50 level. Right, I'm looking at that point to move it, but I'll keep it there for now. I have to think about it on how much to move it up. I'll tell you all on the Discord channel. Based on what we spoke about yesterday, the US yen it sat there along that trend line and it broke to the upside. I was telling you all, there is an upside potential. It is going to be quick and fast, right? It shot up within that 1 to 3 hours. It went from 161.20 up to 161.66 and then retraced and has been sitting there over the last many hours. Right now, I think a couple of you got onto this trade. We were talking about this. I did not get into this move because I feel that the US yen in this territory, as much as it can go up, is something that you have to watch very closely and monitor because it could, as much as it could go up in spurts, it could come right back down very quickly again. So I'm watching this point, and this is why I was thinking of having my sell order right there, just below that 23.6 level. I'm looking at it slowly pushing up towards that round number level at 162. Right, it's sitting there. It could slowly push up towards 162. We spoke about this yesterday. The line in the sand seems to be at 165 and between 165 and 164 in that area. So if it does break above 162, again, a quick and fast trade would be that you look at 162.20, stop loss being tight, no more than 30 pips. Take profit, you go up to 163 for another 80 pips move to the upside. Might not get right to that resistance level, same like what we've seen, but it might do something like this where it sits around, it pops up, and then it sits around at that point and it slowly pushes up again. Right? So we're looking at a possible move. Once it pops up, you want to close out the trade as it sits in a little bit of a consolidation or a slower move to the upside. So 162.20, 80 pip take profit, 30 pip stop loss. We're still watching out for a possible intervention to come from the BOJ. So this one here at 162.20, stop loss 30, take profit 80 to the upside. Again, I might not be too keen if I do get into the euro, which is coming around. I hope it stays there for now. If I do get into the euro or the pound to the downside, I might not be too keen to take the risk on the yen trading up, but that could be available to, especially to those who are more tempted to take on a little bit more risk. Okay, on the US yen to break above 162, pushing up. Would it get up there? I wouldn't rule out the idea that, let me check one level. I wouldn't rule out the idea that it could retrace back down before pushing back up again. Right? It's in that area that we're going to see a lot of chop and change. So it might sit there, might push back down, and then push back up again that way. But it's in that area, but we're looking for that breakout. Does that make sense? On the US Swiss franc, put it into the chat and let me know. Then on the pound dollar, someone was asking, I can't remember the nickname now, sorry, but someone was asking on the Discord channel, could the pound dollar get to 1.26? You know, a very infrequently that I would reply that way, but I said without a doubt, I was expecting the pound dollar to come to that 1.26 support level. Wouldn't do anything on the pound now because I want to see it come down to the 1.26 level. Could it break down from this point? Possibly, but again, remember we have the UK elections to come on the 4th, which is 2 days away. So, you know, I think that we want to again look for a reaction at that 1.26. If it breaks, let me just see. I don't see an 80 pip move lower, but that could be a speculative position that you might want to consider. Let me think. You might want to go a little bit lower. 1.2590, 1.2585. You'll be looking at a 30 pip stop, a 70 pip take to the downside. That one's done. We actually don't need many of these lines. Take those away for now. Don't need that. I'll put that there. Right, so if it pushes down, breaks at 61.8, this could play out. This could play out. As much as I'm looking for a reaction there, we're looking for it to break 1.26, maybe, because it's still 2 days away. Right? If this was if we fast forward and this was tomorrow, then I'd say we'll look, wait for a reaction at 1.26. We might actually see it come all the way down towards this support area in the lead up to the elections on the 4th. So I'll be looking at the, I'll be looking at the pound dollar, right, at look for reaction at 1.26. We could look to sell at 1.2585, stop loss 30, take profit 70 to the downside. UK elections on 4th July. There we go. Look, dollar index retracing slightly. Again, coming back into that Bollinger, so I'm quite happy with that. I want to see a reaction at that support. I'm quite happy with that. Yep, that makes sense. Euro dollar straightforward. So that we were thinking that if it broke, yesterday I was saying it came down, retrace, and bounced back up. It did not break that level, that previous high. So we did not get into that trade. I saw it testing and rejecting that previous high. So I actually did get into that trade to sell down 30 pips to the downside on the euro, hit my support level, got out of the trade, looking for it to break that support, which is signaling now, waiting for it to break that support level to trade down towards that previous swing lows that we've seen on the 14th of June, 21st and 27th of June. 20 pip stop, 40 pip take to the downside on the euro dollar. So I'll keep that. You all had, those on Discord had an early indication of this potential move already, so we're watching out for that. 1.0715, 20 to 40 to the downside. All right, so looking at the euro to sell down, 1.0715, stop loss 20, take profit 40 to the downside. I like how the dollar index is retracing slightly, right? If it shoots up straight away, we're going to see a bigger retrace. So I like how it's shot up, retrace a little bit. Maybe in the next half an hour, sit around this level, and then after that push, continue with that push to the upside. That would play out quite nicely for the euro dollar to trade down. So that's what I'm looking out for. Then on to the US Swiss franc. Anyone traded that? We saw that sitting in consolidation, finally broke out. I know a number of you were talking about this on Discord as it broke higher. If you got onto that trade, you might have, right? If you followed the setup and got in at 9020, you might have been stopped out on the spike down if you had a 15 pip stop loss before it pushed back up again. If you did get caught out on that, that's what happens. That's what happens sometimes. That's when at 10 p.m. where we saw the dollar index retrace sharply before pushing right back up again. And you'll see that why it did that. I'll push that a little bit across. You see why it did that. It was outside the Bollinger, came right back in, started our push down, hit a stop, and then push right back up. Outside of the Bollinger, came right back in again. Okay, so at this point now on the US Swiss franc, you see that we have this that is supporting the price to the upside. We have this supporting price pushing higher. It's broke above 61.8, so I don't need that anymore. Take that away. Now, if the dollar does continue pushing higher, look at the dollar sitting there. If it does continue pushing higher, then we will anticipate that this would continue pushing up. But I think we could see a little bit of a consolidation before, look at the US Swiss franc, it's always been very similar to the yen where it consolidates and push up, right? It consolidates and pushes up. I know I'm messing up my chart. It consolidates and pushes up. So now we're possibly looking at it consolidating before pushing up towards that 9080 level. A small move up, wouldn't be too keen on that as a take profit. But what I would be looking for, take that away for now, is that if it does push up, if you're looking at 9050, just because of that continuation, I think it's right in the middle, so I'm not too keen on that. You're looking at that trading a little bit higher. I think it would be better to look for a reaction along that area here, like that. So we're looking for a reaction along this area here, right? And if it does test this point, maybe as a flip side, instead of, right, we're looking at sell Kiwi, sell Aussie, buy yen, sell pound, sell euro, very dollar strength buyers. What if we see a dollar weakness scenario? So it comes up, tests and rejects back down, then you would possibly be looking at it to test and reject back down as a contrarian, slight contrarian view. Then you might be looking at it to sell down 9060, 20 pip stop, 40, 50 pip take profit. I don't like to think, as much as I want to put in that possible contrarian view, I don't see it retracing strongly from here unless it does the same thing as what it did towards the end of May. Right, a test, you see here where it tested and rejected and pushed right back down. That's the only thing that's supporting this idea for a possible test and reject. But I don't see that as a very high likelihood. Okay, I put that there, but I don't rank it as a very high likelihood for this. 90, sell at 0.9060, 20 to 50 to the downside. Right, stop loss 20, take profit 50 to the downside. I think that it's a counter trend, low likelihood, but I want it there just in case we see a test and reject on the dollar index. The more straightforward one would be for it to come up to test that slight consolidation area. You could look to buy it up. 9090, stop loss will be tight at 20 pips. Take profit, you could go up to 50 to the upside. I like that one a lot more, but I'll have that. We'll put it both in. Let's put that both in. Buy at 0.9090, stop loss 20, take profit 50 to the upside. Take profit was 50 to the upside, or counter trend, you look to sell it down. That's what we'll do. Okay, that's how we'll set it up. Dollar index still pushing up. I'm still looking at that. I'm very keen on that. I want to bounce a little bit first. USCAD bounced off, playing out exactly as we anticipated, bouncing off that 38.2 level, pushing up. If you did get into that, you would have about a 50-60 pip profit. Could have got out. If you didn't get out of that, then it's sitting there right now. It's sitting there right now. I would say that if it consolidates at this point, we could see it push back up towards that resistance level. Right, sit there. We could see it test resistance again. I don't see a big retrace, especially on the dollar pushing higher. CAD news, nothing. CAD news here. Manufacturing PMI for today, nothing here. So I think that it's going to consolidate and slowly push up towards 1.3790. No big trade idea at this point. All right. So I think that US CAD is consolidating. Could trade higher to retest 1.3780 resistance. 3780 resistance. Take that. Okay. Consolidating, could push up towards resistance. I'm not looking at anything there. I don't see a big move up at this point. That's why I would say we're going to see what happens at that resistance level. Then on to gold. All right, look at what happened to gold. It hasn't done either that we said about. Right, did not break above that point to push up, did not break down to push lower. It's in fact sat right between that 23.20 level and 23.37 level. All right, we're looking possible breakout at 23.40. We're still looking at that point. Take that one away. If I look at this, Jimmy is talking about the Aussie. I'll get to that shortly. Give me a moment. Looking at this, 38, about that 38.2 level. So it's in that range. I think it looks like it's going to continue within this range. So I would actually be thinking that gold could continue to range between 23.20 and 23.37. Between 23.20 and 23.37. All right, Jimmy saying that Aussie is not moving at all with the dollar index pushing up. It's sitting right there while dollar is pushing higher. Kiwi is also sitting there. In fact, yen is retracing while dollar is pushing up. Pound dollar is only one pushing lower together with the euro. So it seems like as much as it's the dollar index pushing higher, it looks like it's pushing higher not because of dollar strength, but more because of the pound and the euro weakening against the dollar, which you can see very evidently here right at the top, where the euro is down 23 over the last 6 hours, together with the pound, which is down 24, and everything else is pretty much on a single digit. Well, Kiwi is on a 10, that's almost a single digit, and then the pound yen is down 39. So overall, it seems like it's more the euro and the pound that's weakening, rather than the dollar strength, and that's why we haven't seen a big push on the Aussie and also on the Kiwi. Dinah saying that the US CAD would drop down to 1.3720. US CAD 1.3720, which is down here. I feel that if you really wanted to get onto the US CAD, I don't think it would get to 20. 20 is the 38.2 level. I feel that if you wanted to get onto the CAD, you're possibly looking at that consolidation, maybe even at the point where it just sits there and it bounces. You're looking for that move. Then you're possibly looking at 37 or 40. Stop loss would be about 20 pips. Take profit would be about 40. I feel that, not ruling out the idea that it could, it could very well do that as well. But I feel that it might not drop as much, might just sit there and look for that bounce back up. But yes, it does also make sense that it could come down to 1.3720. Okay. Then onto the Aussie yen. Right, Aussie yen, we were talking about this to push up. It pushed up slightly from a tweezer top, came right back down again. Now sitting at this point, I take that away for now. Aussie dollar, we see that holding, we see that extending up. Does that make sense? Now looking at this, if the Aussie dollar was pushing up a bit right now, if the Aussie dollar does sit there and push lower like what we're looking for here, then we might actually see the Aussie yen push back down. I think the way I look at it is that I want to see it break below this point. I want to see it very ugly head and shoulder, possibly not even a head and shoulder, but I want to see it consolidate, maybe break lower, test that support before I would look for a push back up again. Right, so nothing now, especially now that it's pushed up past that with the high there. I'm looking for it to break that trend line on maybe some dollar weakness, pulling it back down. US yen maybe retracing a little bit. It would pull the Aussie yen back down either to the trend line or that support level here before pushing back up again. So you're either looking to buy it up from a bounce at, if it does push up, I'm not too keen on it, but I'm looking for a retrace. I'll be looking at 107.15, 20 to a good 70 pip move to the upside that way. Right, if it sits there and it pushes up, then it could continue higher, but it's at a level where your stop loss and your take profits are going to be a little bit not in the best position. So I'll prefer to look for that retrace and push back up. Dinah's looking at 107.15. Hey, we're there. We're right there. 107.15, exactly on the spot in alignment. I'm happy. So, yep, we're in alignment on our analysis, looking for that to test, support, and bounce back up. Fantastic. Then, on to the pound Swiss franc. I don't remember when was the last time I looked at this. This was back in June. So now that we're in July, we see it. We don't need those. Resistance is up there, we don't need that. We have this point, I'll highlight that point as a resistance. I don't need that. I want to catch that as a big support level. That makes sense. And then what you want to consider as well is a trend line to the upside with your fib level. 23.6 is right there. The question, I guess, is whether we're going to see a big retrace on the pound Swiss. If we see the pound dollar push strongly to the downside, US Swiss franc looks like it's going to continue pushing up. So on that, then the pound Swiss franc looks like only on pound dollar weakness, right? Only on pound dollar weakness, I would possibly be thinking that you could sell it down 1.1380. Stop loss would be quite tight, just above that trend line 25. Take profit down to that 61.8 level at about 70 pips. Back down. That's a good strong resistance. If it breaks past this point, top to the bottom here, that's done. We're looking at it sitting just under that 50. So I like to put it there and consider that 50% as a resistance. This is a big counter trend move, right? This is a counter trend move, which I think could happen if we see the pound dollar retrace or push lower. I'm just considering the idea of could it test and bounce up. I think that if it does come down and fail to break this level, then you'll be looking at a test and bounce like that with a reaction at that resistance level. So actually with that, thinking of that, I would say that you might even go a little bit lower on this to 1.1375, 20 pip stop, 60 pip, 70 pip take profit still there. And you give it a bit of space to see whether it's going to bounce back up. Okay. So the decision point on the pound Swiss franc would be along this level between 1.14 and 1.1375. Hey Basanta, how are you doing? I'll see how it plays today. On daily time frame, it seems like it will go down, but question on how far. I think that any downward pressure on the pound Swiss franc would be derived from the possibility of the pound dollar pushing lower. And you can't ignore the idea that it's bounced off from this level on the 27th of June, back up within the range. It came down to this point as testing, is bouncing a little bit because it's outside, but we're looking at it possibly, if the dollar does continue push, could trade down to that support, needs to break that support before pushing lower again. Okay, so Kiwi sitting right there. We're seeing the dollar index, not having that big push up, still sitting right across for now. Kiwi is sitting there, not ready yet. Aussie is retracing slightly. US yen is sitting right across, almost not moving. Pound dollar came down, tested, bounced back up a little bit. Euro dollar, I'm happy. I might be jumping into this at the end of the session. If it breaks below that 1.0715 level, maybe even if it doesn't, I might take a speculative move on that. US Swiss franc retracing, right? Because of the dollar, we're only seeing the dollar sitting right there, so it's retracing, maybe could retrace and bounce, but we're going to see a reaction up there. USCAD sitting right along that point, could retrace, looking for that bounce. Nothing super exciting apart from the euro, which is on my watch list now. Maybe with the way it's retracing, might not be at the end of this hour, but might be into the end of the next hour before we could get into a trade. And then on gold, still sitting in that range. You could be looking for the breakout, but I think it's likely to continue within that range for now. In fact, I would say the range of 1.2340. So update that a bit to look for that range. Okay, with all that said, thank you. I did have a bit of a hiccup with the connection, disconnection and all that, but thanks for sticking with me. If you haven't already, do join the Discord channel. If you haven't already, remember to click that thumbs up button, the like and subscribe. That would help massively to get more people onto the stream. And trade well, trade safe. I'll see you all tomorrow, same time, same place. Take care now. Bye bye.